He walked free after 8 years of injustice, but home was no longer the place he left. Tell us in the comments which city you're listening from. Click the like button and let's begin the story. Michael Williams stood at the prison gates holding a plastic bag containing everything he owned. A worn Bible, 3 letters from his children that stopped arriving 6 years ago, and $47. 8 years. 2,920 days stolen by a crime he didn't commit. He was 41 but felt ancient. Prison ages you beyond the calendar. He caught a bus to Riverside. During the 3-hour journey, he rehearsed what he would say to his children. Alex would be 16 now. Daniela, 14. Carlos, 12. Andrew, 10. He had missed everything: birthdays, graduations, nightmares. But now he could be the father they needed. The house was on Maple Street, number 847. As he approached, his heart sank. The yard was overgrown. Paint peeling, windows broken and covered with cardboard. Porch collapsed. Michael climbed the steps and knocked. No answer. He tried the handle. The door opened with a creak. The smell hit him first. Mold, spoiled food, accumulated filth. The living room was dark despite being afternoon. There was no electricity. The furniture he remembered was still there, but covered in dust and grime. In one corner he saw cardboard boxes stacked like makeshift beds. "Hello?" His voice echoed through the empty house. "Is anyone home?" A sound came from the back. Footsteps. A door opening. Then a teenage boy appeared in the hallway, thin, with unkempt hair and eyes that looked older than they should. "Alex," Michael whispered. The boy stopped abruptly. His expression went from surprise to something much darker. Rage. Pure, raw rage. "You," Alex said in a low voice. "You came back." "Son, Don't call me that." Michael took a step forward, but Alex raised his hand in a stopping gesture. "Where were you?" the boy asked. "Where were you when we needed you?" "I was in prison, Alex. I was innocent, but I was convicted. I tried to." "You left us," Alex interrupted. "You left us alone." "I didn't leave you, son. I was arrested. I didn't have a choice." "Everyone has a choice." Before Michael could respond, 3 more children appeared behind Alex. Daniela, thin and with dark circles under her eyes. Carlos with torn clothes. And Andrew, the youngest, hiding behind his older siblings. "Dad," Daniela whispered. Michael felt tears burning in his eyes. "Yes, sweetheart. It's me. I'm home." But she didn't run to hug him. None of them did. They just stood there, looking at him as if he were a stranger. "Where's your mother?" Michael asked, looking around. "Where's Patricia?" Silence. "Kids, where is your mother?" "She left," Alex finally said. 2 years ago. She said she couldn't take it anymore and left." Michael felt the ground shift beneath his feet. "What do you mean she left?" "Exactly what I said. She packed a bag and left. We haven't heard from her since." "But who's been taking care of you?" "Me," Alex replied. "I've been taking care of them." Michael looked around the house with new eyes. Now he understood. The cardboard boxes were makeshift beds. The buckets in the corner were for bathing. The lack of electricity explained the candles scattered everywhere. "How have you been eating?" "I do odd jobs," Alex said. "Mow lawns, carry groceries, whatever people will pay a kid to do. Sometimes the church brings food. And school. We go when we can." Michael felt like he was going to collapse. My God, what happened here?" "Life happened," Alex said coldly. "Life happened while you were wherever you were. I was fighting to prove my innocence, son. Every single day. I was trying to get back to you." "Well, you're back now," Alex said. "Congratulations." "Now what?" Michael had no answer. That night, he lay awake on the filthy couch while his children slept in their makeshift beds. The house was cold because there was no heating. There was no hot water because there was no gas. There was barely running water at all. He had dreamed of this reunion for 8 years. In his mind, it had been emotional, full of tears of joy and relief. Patricia would be there, the house would be maintained, the children would be healthy. He would apologize for being absent, explain what had happened, and gradually rebuild their relationship. But reality was infinitely worse than any nightmare he had had in prison. The next morning, Michael was awakened by a knock on the door. He opened it to find a middle-aged woman in professional clothes carrying a briefcase. "Mr. Williams?" she asked. "Yes. My name is Jennifer Martinez. I'm a social worker with Child Protective Services. May I come in?" Michael felt his stomach drop. He stepped aside to let her in. Jennifer walked through the house with a professional expression that gradually transformed into horror. She examined the lack of electricity, the broken windows, the improvised beds, the buckets serving as toilets. "Mr. Williams," she said finally, "I received an anonymous complaint about the conditions these children are living in. Now that I've seen it with my own eyes, I need to be very clear with you. I just got back yesterday," Michael said quickly. "I was in prison for 8 years for a crime I didn't commit. I was just released. I'm going to fix everything. I understand your situation, but my priority is the welfare of the children. This house is uninhabitable. There's no electricity, no adequate plumbing, structural damage that could be dangerous." "I know, but I'm going to give you 15 days, she interrupted. 15 days to bring this house up to minimum habitability standards. If in 15 days the situation hasn't improved significantly, I'll have no choice but to remove the children and place them in foster homes." "No," Michael said immediately. "No, please. They've already been through too much. Then you have 15 days to prove you can provide a safe environment for them. I'll be back exactly 2 weeks from today." After she left, Michael sat on the porch steps with his head in his hands. 15 days. How was he supposed to fix 8 years of neglect in 15 days? "She's right, you know," Alex said, appearing beside him. "This place is a dump. We've been living like animals for 2 years. Why didn't you ask for help?" "From who? The neighbors who look at us with pity? The teachers who ask questions we can't answer? The system that would separate us? You could have. I kept us together," Alex said, his voice breaking for the first time. "For 2 years I kept us together. And now you show up and in 24 hours we might lose everything anyway." Michael looked at his son and saw the weight this teenager had been carrying. The responsibility of 3 younger siblings. The fear of separation. The shame of poverty. "Alex," he said softly, "I'm going to fix this. I promise you. I'm not going anywhere again." "You can't promise that. Life doesn't let you keep those kinds of promises." "Then watch me try." Michael spent the rest of the day making a list of everything that needed fixing. Electricity reconnection, plumbing repair, broken windows, damaged roof, walls that needed paint, floors that needed repair. The list was overwhelming, but the biggest problem was money. He had $47. The repairs would cost thousands. He walked downtown looking for work. He entered construction offices, hardware stores, restaurants, anywhere that might need workers. But as soon as he mentioned he had just been released from prison, the responses were the same. "We're not hiring right now. Leave your information and we'll call you." "Sorry, but we can't." It didn't matter that he had been exonerated. The stigma of ex-prisoner was enough. At dusk, exhausted and discouraged, he sat on a bench in the town square. That's when he heard a voice. "Michael." He looked up and saw an elderly woman with white hair and kind eyes looking at him. "Mrs. Thompson? Beatrice, please. I heard you were back." Beatrice Thompson had been a neighbor before his arrest. A widow who had always been kind to his family. "Yes, ma'am. I got back yesterday." "And how are the children?" Michael felt a lump in his throat. "Not well, Mrs. Thompson. Not well at all." She sat down beside him. "Tell me what happened." And Michael told her everything. The prison, the false accusation, the return home, the condition of the house, Patricia's disappearance, the social worker's ultimatum. As he spoke, tears began to fall that he had been holding back for years. Beatrice listened in silence, occasionally nodding. When he finished, she remained quiet for a few moments. "Michael, I lost my husband 3 years ago," He was a carpenter, very skilled. He left many tools stored at home, and I have no idea what to do with them. I'm so sorry for your loss. Thank you, but that's not why I'm telling you this. My house is too big for one person, and there's always something that needs repair. What if you take a look? Maybe we can reach an agreement. Michael felt a spark of hope. What kind of agreement? You help me with house repairs and I pay you for it. It's not a lot of money, but it's something. And if you're good at what you do, I can recommend you to other people in town. Mrs. Thompson, I'll accept any work. I've always been good with my hands. Excellent. How about we go there now so you can see what needs fixing? Beatrice's house was an old construction, well-maintained but needing some repairs. There were loose tiles, a dripping faucet, a window that wouldn't close properly, and some floorboards that creaked. I can fix all of this, Michael said, examining the problems. How much would you charge? Mrs. Thompson, you gave me a chance when no one else would even listen to me. You can pay me whatever you think is fair. How about $50 to start? If the work turns out well, we'll see about increasing it. $50 wasn't much money, but it was a start. Michael accepted immediately and began working that same day. Working with his hands had always been therapy for him. During the 8 years in prison, whenever possible, he volunteered for maintenance jobs because it helped him forget a little about the injustice he was living through. Beatrice prepared a simple lunch for him and they talked while eating. Michael, may I ask you a personal question? Of course. What happened to your wife? Why did she abandon the children? Michael sighed deeply. Mrs. Thompson, to tell you the truth, I have no idea. When I was arrested, Patricia seemed determined to wait for me. She said she was going to fight for my innocence, that she would take care of the children until I came back. And what changed? I don't know. The first 2 years she visited me in prison regularly. Then the visits became less frequent. By the 3rd year she stopped coming completely, and when I sent her letters she didn't respond. Do you think she might have gotten involved with someone else? Maybe. Or maybe she started believing I really was guilty. I don't know. The only thing I know is that she abandoned my children when they needed her most. And do you have any way to contact her now? I don't even know where she is. The kids said she left 2 years ago and didn't leave an address or phone number. Beatrice shook her head in dismay. For children alone for 2 years. It's a miracle they survived. Yes, and Alex, my oldest son, was the one who took care of everyone. But now he's angry with me. He thinks I abandoned them on purpose. Give him time, Michael. Childhood wounds take time to heal, but they do heal. In the afternoon, Michael continued working at Beatrice's house while thinking about his children. He had promised to return with food, but still didn't know how he would get money for that. As if reading his thoughts, Beatrice appeared with a shopping bag. Michael, I'm making charro beans for today and ended up buying too many ingredients. How about you take this food to your kids? Michael looked inside the bag and saw rice, beans, sausage, cornmeal, eggs, and some fruit. Mrs. Thompson, I can't accept this for free. It's not free. Consider it an advance on your salary. That night, when Michael arrived home with the food, the children became euphoric. It had been a long time since they had seen such variety. Dad, where did all this come from? Daniela asked while helping prepare dinner. I got a temporary job with a very kind lady. She paid me an advance. What kind of job? Alex asked, still distrustful. Repairs at her house. Fixing tiles, faucets, that kind of thing. And you know how to do that? Yes, of course. Before I was imprisoned, I worked doing that. For the first time since he had arrived, Michael saw a shadow of respect in his oldest son's eyes. That night, while the children slept, Michael stayed up thinking about what he would need to do in the coming days. He had to get more jobs to gather enough money to at least fix the basics of the house. Running water, electricity, roof, windows, all of that would cost a lot of money. The next morning, he returned early to Beatrice's house and finished the repairs he had started the day before. The work was well done and she was impressed with his skill. Michael, you work very well. I'm going to recommend you to Mrs. Cooper, who lives on the corner. She needs someone to replace some tiles. And so it began. Beatrice recommended Michael to Mrs. Cooper, who in turn recommended him to her friend Robert, who spoke about him to his neighbor, and so on. Little by little, Michael built a small clientele of maintenance and repair jobs. The money wasn't much, but at least the children were no longer going hungry. He managed to buy used clothes for them, personal hygiene items, and even some simple toys for the younger ones. But time was passing and the house's structural problems remained the same. In 1 week, the social worker would return and Michael knew the small repairs he had made wouldn't be enough. That's when something happened that would change everything. Michael was fixing the fence of a rural property when a well-dressed man arrived driving a new car. "Are you Michael Williams?" the man asked. "Yes, I am," Michael replied, putting down the hammer he was holding. "My name is Dr. Richard Morrison. I'm a lawyer. I was the one who helped prove your innocence." Michael felt his heart race. He vaguely remembered the name of the lawyer who had worked on his case, but had never met him in person. "Doctor, thank you so much for what you did for me. If it weren't for you, I'd still be in prison." "You don't have to thank me. I did my job, but that's not why I'm here. I heard you came back home and found yourself in a difficult situation. It's true. My children are living in precarious conditions. And I also heard you're working hard trying to fix everything. I'm doing what I can, but it's not easy." Dr. Richard looked around the property where Michael was working and noticed the quality of the work he was doing. "Michael, I need someone to do some repairs in my office. Leaks, electrical problems, that kind of thing. Would you accept?" "Of course, doctor. When do you need it done?" "As soon as possible. And I can tell you up front that I pay well for quality work." "How much would that be?" "How about $250 to start? If the work turns out well, there's more work ahead." Michael almost fell backward. $250 was more money than he had seen together in the last 8 years. "Doctor, are you sure?" "Yes, I am. And I'm going to tell you something. When I was investigating your case, I discovered many things about you. You were always hardworking, honest, a good family man. What happened to you was an injustice. And if I can help in any way, I'm going to help." Michael felt tears burning in his eyes. "Thank you so much, doctor. You don't know what this means to me." "Yes, I do. And there's something else. I know many people who need repair and maintenance services. If you do good work for me, I can open many doors for you." Over the following days, Michael worked tirelessly. He fixed Dr. Richard's office, who was so satisfied that he recommended him to 3 other clients. The money began to come in more steadily. With the money he earned, Michael hired an electrician to reconnect the power. The moment the lights came back on in the house, Andrew, the youngest, started crying with relief. He had been living in darkness for so long that he had forgotten what it was like to simply flip a switch. Next came the plumbing, running water, hot showers, a working toilet. Small things that most people took for granted but that were pure luxury for children who had been living like refugees in their own home. Michael worked from dawn until late at night. He repaired the roof, replaced broken windows, painted the walls, fixed the floors. His hands became calloused and his body ached. But he didn't stop. Beatrice visited frequently, bringing food and helping clean the house. The children began to warm up to her. She had a gentle way about her, patient, that reminded them of what a mother should be. "Mrs. Thompson," Daniela said one afternoon while they folded clean clothes together, "why are you so nice to us?" "Because someone was nice to me when I needed it," Beatrice replied. "And because you all deserve kindness." On the 13th day, 1 day before the social worker's deadline, Michael stood in front of the house looking at the transformation. It wasn't perfect, but it was livable. There was electricity, running water, repaired windows, a solid roof. The children had real beds now, bought secondhand but comfortable. When Jennifer Martinez returned the next day, her expression changed completely as she walked through the house. "Mr. Williams," she said finally, "I have to admit I didn't think you could do it." "I had help," Michael replied. "Good people who believed in me. The house is now at acceptable standards. The children can stay with you." Michael felt his knees weaken with relief. But Jennifer wasn't finished. "However, I'll be making periodic visits. And there are other concerns I need to address. The children need to be enrolled in school regularly. They need medical checkups. And Alex, the oldest, needs psychological counseling. The responsibility he's been carrying for 2 years at his age is enormous. I'll do everything necessary, Michael promised. After she left, Michael gathered the children in the living room. Kids, we made it. We can stay together. But instead of joy, Alex looked at him with an expression Michael couldn't decipher. What's wrong, son? How long will it last? Alex asked. How long before something else happens and we're back to square one? Alex. No, Dad. I need to know. Because for 8 years you weren't here. When Mom wasn't here for 2 years. I was the only constant in their lives. And now suddenly you're here and we're supposed to just trust that we'll stay. I understand your fear, son. I understand it more than you know. But I'm not going anywhere. I'll prove it to you, day after day if necessary. Words are easy. Then I'll show you with actions. The following weeks were challenging in ways Michael hadn't anticipated. Fixing the house had been the easy part. Fixing the emotional damage was much harder. Daniela had nightmares every night. She would wake up screaming that someone was taking her brothers away. Carlos had become silent, barely speaking unless directly asked. Andrew clung to Michael with desperate intensity, afraid that if he let go, his father would disappear again. And Alex built walls so high that Michael didn't know how to begin climbing them. It was Beatrice who suggested family therapy. Michael, these children have been through severe trauma. They need professional help to process what happened. I can't afford therapy. Dr. Richard mentioned he knows a therapist who does pro bono work for families in difficult situations. Let me make a call. That's how the Williams family began weekly sessions with Dr. Sarah Chun, a trauma specialist who worked with children and families. The first few sessions were painful. The children expressed anger, fear, resentment. Alex finally broke down and cried for the first time since Michael had returned, screaming that he had been just a child forced to become an adult overnight. I had to decide if we ate that day or saved money for the next week, Alex sobbed. I had to lie to teachers about why we didn't have supplies. I had to keep Daniela from crying at night so the neighbors wouldn't hear. I was 14 years old, Dad. 14. Michael could only hold his son while he released years of accumulated pain. Dr. Chun worked with them on communication, trust building, realistic expectations. She helped the younger children understand that their father's absence hadn't been a choice, while helping Michael understand the depth of trauma his children had experienced. Michael, she said in a private session, these children developed survival mechanisms that served them well during the crisis but are now maladaptive. Alex's hypervigilance, Daniela's anxiety, Carlos's emotional shutdown, Andrew's separation anxiety. All of these are normal responses to abnormal circumstances. How do I help them? Consistency, patience, being present, and understanding that healing isn't linear. There will be good days and terrible days. 3 months after Michael's return, life had established a new routine. The children were back in school full-time. Michael's repair business was growing steadily. The house was becoming a home again. But then came the knock on the door that changed everything once more. Michael opened it to find a thin woman with dark circles under her eyes and hesitant expression. Took him a moment to recognize her. Patricia. His ex-wife stood on the porch looking at him with a mixture of shame and desperation. Michael. Can I come in? What are you doing here? I need to see my children. Your children. Michael felt rage rising in his chest. You abandoned them for 2 years. You left 4 kids alone to fend for themselves. I know. I know what I did was unforgivable. But I'm clean now. I've been sober for 6 months. I'm in a program. I want to make amends. Sober? What are you talking about? Patricia lowered her eyes. After you were arrested, I fell apart. I started drinking, then pills, then worse things. I couldn't handle the shame, the judgment from the neighbors, the financial pressure. I crumbled. So you abandoned our children. I know there's no excuse. I know I'm the worst mother in the world. But I'm trying to get better. I want to be part of their lives again. It's not that simple, Patricia. I know, but I have to try. They're my children too. Before Michael could respond, he heard a scream behind him. Mom! Daniela stood in the hallway, her face pale. Danny! Patricia whispered. Baby, I'm so sorry. Within seconds, all 4 children were there. Their reactions varied wildly. Daniela began to cry. Carlos backed away. Andrew hid behind Michael. And Alex looked at his mother with an expression of pure contempt. You have some nerve showing up here, he said coldly. Alex, please. No, you don't get to do this. You don't get to walk back in like nothing happened. I'm not trying to pretend nothing happened. I'm trying to apologize. Apologies don't erase 2 years of hell. Patricia began to cry. I know they don't. But I'm still your mother. Mothers don't abandon their children, Alex said. You stopped being our mother the day you walked out that door. The confrontation was brutal. Daniela wanted to give her mother a chance. Carlos didn't know what to feel. Andrew was confused. And Alex was adamantly against any contact. Michael found himself in an impossible position. He had every reason to ban Patricia from seeing the children. But he also knew that denying them access to their mother could create more resentment in the future. It was Dr. Chun who helped navigate the situation. The children need to make their own choices about their relationship with their mother, she explained. But those choices need to be informed and supported. Patricia needs to prove she's changed through actions, not just words. They established a structure. Patricia could visit once a week, supervised, at Dr. Chen's office. She would participate in family therapy sessions. She would have to prove her sobriety through regular tests. And most importantly, the children would decide individually how much contact they wanted. Daniela began meeting with her mother weekly. Carlos agreed to monthly meetings. Andrew was uncertain, and Alex refused any contact whatsoever. She made her choice, he told Michael. Now I'm making mine. Michael couldn't argue with that logic. As the months passed, something unexpected happened. Michael and Beatrice grew closer. What had started as a professional relationship had become friendship, and friendship had gradually transformed into something deeper. Beatrice was everything Patricia hadn't been. Steady, reliable, present. She showed up for school plays. She helped with homework. She listened when the kids needed to talk. She loved them not because she had to, but because she chose to. Dad? Daniela said one evening after Beatrice had left. Do you like Mrs. Thompson? Yes, sweetheart. She's a very special person. I mean, do you like her? Michael felt his face redden. Would that bother you? Daniela thought for a moment. No, I think it would be nice. She makes you happy. And she's always been kind to us. But when Michael finally worked up the courage to ask Beatrice on a proper date, he found himself confronting complicated feelings. I still feel married, he admitted to her. Even though Patricia left, even though she betrayed the children's trust, part of me still feels like it's wrong to move on. Michael, Beatrice said gently, Patricia made her choices. You're allowed to make yours. The question is, what do you want? I want to be happy again. I want my children to see what a healthy relationship looks like. And I want you. They began dating carefully, aware that the children were watching and evaluating everything. Some adjustments were easier than others. Andrew loved Beatrice immediately. She represented the maternal stability he had craved. Carlos warmed up gradually. Daniela was supportive but cautious. Alex was hostile. You're replacing Mom, he accused Michael. I'm not replacing anyone. Your mother will always be your mother. But you're moving on like she never existed. Alex, I spent 8 years in prison thinking about your mother every day. Then I came home and found out she had abandoned you. I'm not moving on lightly, but I deserve happiness too. What about us? Don't we get a say? Of course you do. That's why I'm talking to you about it. And if I say I'm not okay with it? Michael took a deep breath. Then we'll have to find a way to work through it together. Because Beatrice is important to me, but so are you. and I'm not going to lose either one. The situation became even more complicated when Patricia found out about Beatrice. "You're dating someone?" she asked during one of her supervised visits with Daniela. "Yes. How could you? We're still married. We've been separated for years, Patricia. You abandoned our family. I was sick. Addiction is a disease. I know that, and I'm glad you're getting help. But that doesn't mean I have to put my life on hold." Patricia turned to Daniela. "Honey, how do you feel about this woman in your father's life?" "Don't do that," Michael warned. "Don't put her in the middle. I'm asking my daughter how she feels." Daniela looked between her parents, clearly torn. "Mrs. Thompson is nice. She's been there for us when we needed someone. I'm your mother. I should be there for you." "But you weren't," Daniela said quietly. "You weren't there, Mom. She was." The hurt on Patricia's face was evident, but she couldn't argue with the truth. 6 months after Michael and Beatrice started dating, he proposed. Not in a grand romantic gesture, but in a quiet moment in her kitchen while they were cooking dinner. "Marry me," he said simply. Beatrice looked up from the vegetables she was chopping. "Are you sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything. The children need stability, need an example of commitment, need to see that love doesn't always end in betrayal. I'm not their mother." "No, but you love them like they're yours, and they love you. Isn't that enough?" Beatrice set down her knife and took his hands. Yes, that's enough. And yes, I'll marry you." The engagement was received with mixed reactions. Andrew was thrilled. Carlos seemed quietly pleased. Daniela was supportive but sad, feeling guilty about her mother. And Alex exploded. "You're getting married? Are you kidding me? Alex, what about Mom? What about giving her a second chance?" "Your mother has a second chance with you kids. But my marriage to her is over. It ended the day she walked out on you. You're punishing her for being sick. I'm moving forward with my life. There's a difference. I won't accept this. I won't accept her as a stepmother. You don't have to call her Mom, but you do have to respect her, because she's going to be my wife and part of this family." Alex stormed out and didn't come home until late that night. The wedding was small, just close friends and the children. Patricia was not invited, but Daniela asked if she could at least tell her mother about it. "She's going to be hurt," Daniela said. "I know, sweetheart, but this isn't about hurting your mother. It's about me building a new life." Patricia's reaction, relayed through Daniela, was as expected. Hurt, anger, accusations of betrayal, but also something else. "Tell Dad," Patricia had said to Daniela, "that I hope he's happy, that I hope she's good to you kids, and that I'm sorry I wasn't." On the day of the wedding, as Michael stood at the altar watching Beatrice walk toward him, he felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude, not just for her, but for everything that had led to this moment. The 8 years in prison, the return to a destroyed home, the struggle to rebuild. All of it had been necessary to arrive here, to this woman who had chosen to love not just him but his broken family. During the reception, something unexpected happened. Alex approached Beatrice. "Can I talk to you?" he asked stiffly. "Of course." They walked to a quiet corner of the venue. "I've been a jerk to you," Alex said, not meeting her eyes. "You've been protective of your family. That's not being a jerk. But you're not the enemy. I know that now. You've been good to them, to all of us, even when I didn't deserve it." "Alex, I'm not saying I'm ready to call you Mom or anything, but I'm saying I'll try. I'll try to accept this." Beatrice pulled the teenager into a hug. "That's all I ask." Life settled into a new pattern. Beatrice moved into the house on Maple Street. Her presence transformed the space in ways Michael hadn't anticipated. There were flowers in vases now, home-cooked meals every night, someone to help with homework and attend parent-teacher conferences. But the situation with Patricia remained complicated. She had maintained her sobriety and completed her rehabilitation program. She had a job now working at a local diner. She had her own small apartment, and she wanted more time with the children. "I've proven I've changed," she told Michael during a tense conversation. I've been clean for over a year. I attend meetings. I'm stable. I want joint custody. Patricia, you abandoned them for 2 years. And I've spent the last year trying to make up for it. The kids need their mother. They have a mother. Beatrice is not their mother. I am. The custody battle that followed was agonizing. Lawyers, court dates, the children being interviewed by judges, Dr. Chun testifying about their emotional states. In the end, the judge made a Solomon-like decision. Patricia would have visitation rights every other weekend and 1 weeknight per week. But primary custody remained with Michael and Beatrice. The children need stability, the judge explained. They've been through enough upheaval. However, Mrs. Williams has demonstrated genuine change, and the children, with the exception of Alex, have expressed desire to maintain a relationship with their mother. Alex had been adamant in his testimony. I don't want to see her. I don't care if that makes me a bad person. She made her choice and I'm making mine. The judge respected his wishes. At 16, he was old enough to decide for himself. The new arrangement was awkward at first. Patricia would pick up Daniela, Carlos, and Andrew every other Friday evening. They would spend the weekend with her, then return Sunday night. The first time they left, Michael watched from the window as Patricia's car drove away with his children. You okay? Beatrice asked, coming to stand beside him. I spent 8 years dreaming of having them back. Now I'm voluntarily letting them go with the person who hurt them most. You're letting them make their own choices about their relationships. That's healthy. Is it? Or am I setting them up for more heartbreak? Maybe both. But you can't protect them from everything. Sometimes people need to learn their own lessons. She was right as usual. Over the following months, Patricia proved she had genuinely changed. She was reliable. She showed up when she said she would. She remembered birthdays and school events. She attended Andrew's soccer games and Carlos's band concerts. She even started therapy herself, working through the issues that had led to her addiction in the first place. I was ashamed, she admitted to Daniela during one honest conversation. When your dad was arrested, everyone looked at us differently, like we were criminals too. I couldn't handle it, so I started drinking to numb the pain. Then I needed pills to sleep. Then I needed stronger things to feel normal. Before I knew it, I was so far down I couldn't see daylight anymore. But you got out, Daniela said. I got out, but not before I hurt the people I loved most in the world. I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make up for that. Something else unexpected happened. Patricia met someone. His name was Henry Carter, a construction worker who also attended AA meetings. He was kind, patient, and had 2 children of his own from a previous marriage. When Patricia introduced him to the kids, Michael felt an odd mixture of emotions. Relief that she had support, jealousy that someone else was playing a father role during her weekends, and worry that this man might hurt his children. But Henry proved to be genuine. He was respectful of boundaries. He never tried to replace Michael. He simply supported Patricia in her recovery and treated the Williams children with kindness. Dad, Carlos said after meeting Henry for the first time. He's actually pretty cool. He taught me how to change a tire. Michael felt proud and slightly hurt at the same time. The real test came during the holidays. Both families wanted the children. Beatrice wanted to create new traditions. Patricia wanted to rebuild old ones. Henry's kids needed to be considered. Alex refused to participate in anything involving his mother. It was a logistical and emotional nightmare. Dr. Chun suggested a radical solution. What if you all celebrated together? Together? Michael was incredulous. You want me to spend Thanksgiving with my ex-wife and her boyfriend? I'm suggesting you consider what's best for the children. They're torn between 2 households. They feel guilty about enjoying time with either parent because they feel like they're betraying the other. What if you removed that burden? By pretending we're all one big happy family? By showing them that adults can be mature and put children's needs first. The idea was insane, but they tried it. Thanksgiving dinner with Michael and Beatrice, Patricia and Henry, and all the children except Alex, who refused to attend, was awkward at first. But as the evening progressed, something shifted. They weren't pretending to be one family. They were simply two families who shared children and were choosing to coexist peacefully. "Pass the potatoes, please," Patricia said to Beatrice. "Of course. Would you like gravy too?" "Yes, thank you. This turkey is delicious, by the way." "Thank you." Michael helped with the seasoning. Small, normal interactions that would have seemed impossible a year earlier. Henry and Michael found themselves talking about sports. Beatrice and Patricia actually laughed about something. The children relaxed visibly when they saw the adults weren't fighting. "This is weird," Carlos whispered to Daniela. "Yeah, but good weird." "Yeah, good weird." The arrangement evolved. They didn't spend every holiday together, but they coordinated schedules. They attended school events without drama. They even established a group text thread for coordinating pickups and drop-offs. When Andrew had to have his appendix removed, all 4 adults showed up at the hospital. They took shifts in his room. They supported each other through the fear. "Thank you for being here," Patricia said to Michael in the waiting room while Andrew was in surgery. "He's my son. Of course I'm here. I mean, thank you for not shutting me out. After everything I did, you could have. The courts would have supported you. But you didn't." "Patricia, I was angry for a long time. Part of me still is. But these kids have already lost so much. If I can give them a relationship with their mother, even if she hurt them, I'm going to try. I don't deserve that grace. Maybe not, but they do." The real transformation happened gradually over the next 2 years. Patricia maintained her sobriety. She got promoted at work. She moved into a bigger apartment. She and Henry got married in a small ceremony that Daniela, Carlos, and Andrew attended. Michael and Beatrice had been married for 3 years. The house on Maple Street had been completely renovated. Michael's repair business had grown into a successful small company employing 3 people. And then came the moment that surprised everyone. Alex, now 18 and preparing to leave for college, asked to meet with his mother. "I'm not doing this because I forgive you," he told Patricia at a coffee shop. "I'm doing this because Dr. Chun says I need closure before I go to college. I understand. I need to know why, really why, not the addiction stuff. I need to know how you could look at your children and choose to leave us." Patricia took a deep breath. "The honest truth? I was weak. I was selfish. I was drowning, and instead of fighting harder, I let myself sink. And I convinced myself you'd be better off without me. We weren't. I know that now, but in my mind, I was this poison destroying the family. I thought removing myself would somehow make things better. It made things worse. I know." They sat in silence for a moment. "Are you happy now?" Alex asked. "I'm working on being happy. Some days are harder than others. But yes, I'm in a much better place than I was." "Good. Because I need to know that what you did to us meant something. That you learned something. That you changed." "I did. I promise you, Alex, I did." "Okay. Okay. I'm not ready to have you in my life regularly. I'm not ready to call you mom again. But I'm ready to not hate you anymore. Is that enough?" Patricia's eyes filled with tears. "That's more than enough. That's more than I deserve." Alex stood to leave, then paused. "For what it's worth, I'm glad you got sober. I'm glad you're doing better. And maybe someday after college we can try again. I'll be here whenever you're ready." At his high school graduation, Alex surprised everyone by acknowledging both Beatrice and Patricia in his speech. "I want to thank my dad for never giving up, even when everything seemed impossible. I want to thank Beatrice for choosing to love us when she didn't have to. And I want to thank my mom, Patricia, for fighting her way back to us, even when we made it really hard." There wasn't a dry eye in the audience. College changed Alex in unexpected ways. Away from the daily reminders of trauma, he began to see his childhood with more perspective. He called home regularly and started calling Beatrice Mom B naturally. And he started calling Patricia occasionally too. "How's school?" she would ask. "Challenging, but good." "How's work?" "Good. Henry and I are thinking about buying a house." "That's great, Mom." The first time he called her Mom again, they both cried. 5 years after Michael's release from prison, the entire extended family gathered for Thanksgiving. Not because they had to, but because they wanted to. Michael and Beatrice, Patricia and Henry, Henry's 2 children, now young adults, and all 4 Williams kids, thriving in their own ways. Alex was in his 3rd year of college studying engineering. Daniela was working as a teacher's aide and taking classes. Carlos was in high school and thriving. Andrew was in middle school and playing on 3 different sports teams. As they sat around the extended dining table, Michael looked at the faces of everyone gathered and felt overwhelming gratitude. "I want to make a toast," he said, standing with his glass. Everyone quieted. 8 years ago, I was released from prison for a crime I didn't commit. I came home expecting to pick up where I left off. Instead, I found devastation. My children had been abandoned and were living in conditions no child should endure. He paused, emotion catching in his throat. I thought that was the end of our story, that we'd been broken beyond repair. But I was wrong. What I found wasn't the end. It was a chance to rebuild something better than what we'd lost. He looked at Beatrice. I found love I didn't expect. He looked at Patricia. I found forgiveness I didn't know I was capable of. He looked at his children. And I found strength in 4 kids who survived the impossible. This family doesn't look like anyone's idea of normal. We've got 2 moms, a dad, a stepdad, stepsibs, and probably a dozen other complications I'm forgetting. But what we have is real. It's messy and complicated and sometimes really hard. But it's ours. So I'm grateful, not just for the good things, but for the hard things too. Because without all of it, every painful, difficult, heartbreaking moment, we wouldn't be here right now. To complicated families, he raised his glass. To complicated families, everyone echoed. As the evening continued, Carlos pulled Michael aside. Dad, can I ask you something? Of course. Do you ever regret it? Those 8 years in prison. Michael thought carefully. I regret the injustice. I regret missing so much of your childhoods. But if someone offered to change the past to prevent my arrest, I don't know if I would. Why not? Because changing that would change everything. I might still be married to your mother in a broken relationship. You kids might have grown up in a household full of resentment. Beatrice wouldn't be in our lives. Your mother might never have hit rock bottom and gotten sober. So suffering is good? No. Suffering is terrible. But sometimes suffering teaches us things that happiness never could. It taught me what really matters. It taught your mother that she needed help. It taught you kids how strong you really are. It taught me that I never want to feel that helpless again, Carlos said quietly. That's a good lesson too. What are you going to do with it? I'm thinking about social work. Helping kids like we were. Michael pulled his son into a hug. That's perfect. That's absolutely perfect. Later that night, after everyone had left and the house was quiet, Michael and Beatrice sat on the porch watching the stars. What are you thinking about? She asked. About how nothing turned out the way I expected. Is that a bad thing? No, it's the best thing. I expected to come home and find my life waiting for me. Instead, I had to build a completely new one. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if I hadn't offered you that first job? Every day. And every day I'm grateful you did. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Michael, Beatrice said eventually. Yeah, I love our complicated family. He smiled. So do I. So do I. Inside, the house was warm and full. The refrigerator had enough food. The lights worked. The beds were comfortable. And most importantly, the people sleeping in those beds knew they were loved. It had taken 8 years in prison, 2 years of abandonment, countless hours of therapy, several crises, and more tears than anyone could count. But they had made it. Not intact, they were too changed for that. But whole in a different way. Stronger in the broken places. A family that had been shattered and rebuilt into something more beautiful than the original. And on quiet nights like this, sitting on the porch watching the stars, Michael Williams knew with absolute certainty that he was the richest man in the world. Not in money or possessions, but in love, second chances, and the knowledge that even the darkest nights eventually give way to dawn. The end. If this story of redemption and forgiveness moved you, let us know in the comments. Do you believe families can be rebuilt after devastating loss? Have you ever had to forgive someone who hurt you deeply? Share your thoughts below. And don't forget to subscribe to hear more stories of resilience, hope, and the incredible strength of the human spirit.